Stockholm, late August 1973. Morning light spills across Norrmalmstorg Square, turning the glass facade of Kreditbanken into a mirror for a city that prides itself on calm order. Inside, the tick of a wall clock sets the rhythm for ordinary transactions. A woman deposits her salary. A shop owner signs a loan extension. A teller stamps a passbook. The air smells faintly of paper, ink, and floor polish. Police cruisers roll by without urgency. This is Sweden, where institutions feel as solid as granite. At 10:03 a.m., a man in a dark jacket and permed hair steps through the revolving door carrying a folded canvas bag. He pauses like any customer, then unfurls a Carl Gustaf submachine gun and fires into the ceiling. Dust rains down like confetti. Screams break, then freeze. It is Jan-Erik Olsson, a convicted robber on furlough who has just announced a performance that will trap a nation in its own reflection. He shouts in Swedish and English. The party begins. He orders everyone to the floor and herds 4 employees, Kristen, Birgitta, Elizabeth, and Sven, toward the bank vault. He demands 3 million kronor, weapons, bulletproof vests, a fast car, and one extraordinary request. Bring me my friend, the notorious inmate Clark Olofsson. When the Prime Minister's office picks up the emergency line, the heist becomes theater. Cameras and crowds gather outside. A square that usually whispers now hums with sirens, cables, and live commentary. For 6 days, Sweden watches a locked room. The police watch too, through drilled peepholes, through gas taps, through the quaver in a hostage's voice. And while the world waits for the criminals to break the hostages, something stranger happens. The hostages move closer to their captors, and the captors move closer to their hostages, until the boundary between threat and protection blurs. By the time the vault doors swing open, a new phrase will enter the lexicon, Stockholm Syndrome. And a bank robbery will become a case study in fear, dependency, and human attachment under siege. Olsson's path is not destiny. It's accumulation. Juvenile scrapes harden into adult crimes. Prison becomes both punishment and school. On a furlough from the Norrköping penitentiary, he drifts into Stockholm with a blueprint that's more attitude than plan. Seize a bank, take hostages, negotiate big, and exit hard. He knows the police playbook. He's seen enough raids to sense where the edge lies. Kreditbanken draws him because it is central, respectable, symbolic. He studies the floor, counters, back offices, the corridor to the vault. He watches guard rotations, notes who carries keys and who carries fear. His demands are preloaded. Money buys movement. Weapons buy time. A car buys distance. Clark Olofsson, charismatic, media magnetic, buys leverage and, perhaps, a strange kind of companionship Olsson believes will keep the room from spinning out of control. When he lifts the gun and the ceiling dust falls, shock aligns every eye to him. In minutes, police cordon off the square. Chief Hans Holmer and negotiators arrive. The Prime Minister Olof Palme is looped in. The bank's telephone becomes a lifeline, a stage, and sometimes a confessional. Inside the vault antechamber, 4 employees breathe in recycled air and adrenaline. The door closes. The clock keeps ticking, but the meaning of time changes. Olsson's voice is sharp, then oddly courteous. He allows water, arranges blankets, checks the hostage's comfort with the briskness of a field medic. He calls the police, his tone veering between swagger and bargaining. He wants money in small, portable bundles, 2 pistols, bulletproof vests, and a Ford Mustang. Most audaciously, he demands that Clark Olofsson be delivered to him inside the bank. To everyone's astonishment, the state complies. Olofsson, mid-sentence for other robberies, is escorted to the scene. The door opens. He enters with the poise of a stage actor and the easy charm that made him a tabloid star. His presence changes the chemistry. He speaks softly to the hostages, trades jokes, shows them how to stay calm. He speaks quietly to Olsson too, talk of tactics, of not panicking, of keeping the police off balance. Prime Minister Palme personally speaks by phone with a hostage, Kristen. The nation listens to excerpts. She pleads that police not storm the vault. Her voice shakes. But her words advocate for the robbers' plan, not because she loves them, but because the known danger beside her feels less terrifying than the unknown danger roaring outside. The public, hearing kindness directed at the men with guns, stiffens. Commentators mutter. What is happening in there? Vault life is tunnel time. The fluorescent light hum. The air grows stale. An odd intimacy forms in confined space. Shared food, shared anecdotes, shared silent dread. Olsson moves with a soldier's economy, Clark with a counselor's touch. They untie hands when feasible, allow stretching, sing to keep the room from collapsing into panic. They promise no one will be harmed if the police back off. Terror spikes in waves. Olsson fires warning shots. He lassos a noose around a hostage's neck and tightens when he hears drills in the wall. He fires through the vault door to warn off entry. Yet between spike and spike, the captors bring blankets, check pulses, talk softly. Threat and protection come from the same hands. The hostage's minds adapt to survive. He feeds me. He talks to me. He shields me from the raid outside. The police, by contrast, are faceless, a gas in the wall, a drill bucking the masonry. The hostage's fear reassigns its targets. From the man with the gun to the shadow beyond the door. That cognitive shift is not affection, it is strategy. In a closed system, the safest person is the one you can influence. If the robber sees you as human, he may spare you. If the police see you as an obstacle, you may be sacrificed to an entry plan. This brutal logic starts to rewire allegiances. Outside, the square becomes a theater. Reporters, onlookers, an ambulance on standby, officers rolling cable and flak shields. Inside headquarters, plans multiply. Acoustic bores, drill tiny holes to listen, to intimidate. Gas taps, install ports to flood the vault with tear gas. Time pressure, stretch negotiations so fatigue phrase the captor's judgment. Negotiators cycle between good cop empathy and hard deadlines. They offer food, then refuse the car. They float safe passage illusions, then yank them back. Each call to the vault lands in a stew of hunger, carbon dioxide, and raw nerves. Clark tries to keep Olsson's edges from splitting. He also coaches hostages on positioning, breathing, how to speak to the police so as not to trigger a dynamic entry. The country listens. Sweden's sense of itself, rational, humane, non-violent, now watches through glass at men with guns and women asking police not to storm. What is duty? What is protection? How does fear choose its friends? By day 3, a strange equilibrium governs the vault. The hostages sleep in shifts. They share bread and coffee passed through the door. They joke with Clark about music and the weather. Olsson alternates between edgy threats and fuss-budget caretaking. He tells Elizabeth he won't hurt her, unless police breach, then all bets are off. The conditional promise lands like comfort, so long as I stay close to him, I live. A police psychiatrist, listening to phone calls, begins to describe what he hears. Identification with the captor, mistrust of rescue, gratitude for small mercies. The media will later compress it into a label. Stockholm Syndrome. The term will travel the world, sometimes misapplied, sometimes used to shame survivors, sometimes wielded to understand how terror warps loyalty. But in this room, it is simply survival math. The captor controls oxygen, posture, bathroom access, and whether bullets fly, the mind rallies to appease power it cannot escape. Outside, the police tighten the vice, more drilling, more gas ports, more pressure through the telephone. Inside, the hostages lean toward the people who are closest and responsive. The paradox hardens. Day 6. The order is given. Tear gas will be introduced through the drilled holes. The goal: incapacitate the robbers without a ballistic entry. The risk: gas does not discriminate. Hostages will suffer too. As the canisters hiss, panic rears. Burning eyes. Lungs clamp. Olsson and Clark try to build barricades, wedge shelves and cabinets to block the door. The hostages cough and cry. In that chaos, the bond manifests. Reports say one or more hostages shield the robbers with their bodies, plead with police not to shoot, sob that they feel safer with the men inside than with the rifles outside. The scene is documentary and surreal, captives advocating for captors to prolong their own safety. The gas deepens. The hinges give. The vault door swings. Armed officers flood the threshold. Hands go up. Olsson is wrenched down, Clark surrenders. The hostages stumble out, eyes streaming, arms linked with the men who threatened them for 6 days. Cameras capture that dissonant tableau, menace and mercy braided in a single exit. No shots fired. No deaths. The square exhales. The country argues. In custody, Olsson vacillates between bravado and rue. Clark gives his interviews with star power, insisting he protected the hostages, which many of them, to varying degrees, confirm. In trial, the state asserts coercive control. The defense leans on police provocation and hostage fondness as proof of restraint. The sentences come. Time is served. Everyone ages. The hostages, in later years, articulate the alchemy. We were terrified. We did what we had to do. They were kind at times. The police scared us more in certain moments. Their words are not paradox, they are trauma logic. Outside commentators, some empathetic, some cruel, reduce it to a headline. Stockholm Syndrome. The term becomes a cultural shortcut for any affection under duress. Invoked in films, podcasts, and arguments that have nothing to do with vaults or gas taps. Scholars push back, asking for nuance, clinicians refine criteria, survivors ask to be heard in their own language. And yet the images endure. A vault's fluorescent cage, a robber smoothing a blanket. A hostage pleading with police not to storm. A nation listening to a woman's voice on the phone. A door opening onto a new kind of argument about fear, power, and love's counterfeit cousins. Stand again on Norrmalmstorg at dawn. The square is ordinary. A cafe sets out chairs. A bus exhales. Somewhere a bank vault sits quiet, its light humming. If you did not know, you would not know. But people remember. The heist taught Sweden that order can be perforated, by a man with a gun, by a phone line that becomes a lifeline, by a gas tap hissing ethics into the air. It taught the world that rescue and risk are not perfect opposites, that in a sealed room the mind will reassign loyalty to the hand that holds the water even if that hand also holds the threat. It taught storytellers a darker lesson. That villain and protector can briefly wear the same face, and that the camera will capture that confusion without mercy. We named the pattern. We argued about it. We used it badly. We learned to ask better questions. And so the vault door swings, again and again, in the retelling, opening not just on 2 robbers and 4 hostages, but on all of us, and the bargain's fear will strike to keep a heartbeat steady. Fade.